My wife insisted I pay her son's prison bills and threatened divorce when I refused. I gave in, and now she's pleading for me to stay. Hello Reddit I+ here. When I met Lisa, I thought I'd found my perfect match. She was compassionate, strong-willed, and fiercely protective of her son, Mark, from her previous marriage. He was a troubled kid, sure, but I figured I could be the stabilizing force in their lives. Things were good at first, until the phone call that changed everything. Mark had been arrested. Again. This time, it wasn't something petty like shoplifting. He'd been involved in a string of burglaries, and the legal bills were piling up. Lisa came to me, her face pale but her voice unyielding. "I need you to help him, Brian," she said. "He's my son, and he deserves a chance to turn his life around." I hesitated. It wasn't about the money, though $20,000 was no small amount. It was the principle. Mark was 26, far from a kid, and had already burned through every opportunity handed to him. "Lisa, we've bailed him out before," I replied carefully. "Maybe this time he needs to face the consequences." Her eyes darkened. "If you won't help my son, what kind of husband are you?" The tension grew unbearable. Lisa stopped speaking to me unless it was about Mark. At night, she'd turn her back to me in bed, a silent fortress of resentment. Then came the ultimatum. "I'm serious, Brian," she said one evening, her arms crossed. "If you won't pay for his legal fees, I can't stay in this marriage. A mother protects her child. If you can't understand that, we have no future." Her words hit me like a gut punch. Was she really willing to throw away our life together over this? After a week of sleepless nights and soul-searching, I caved. I dipped into my retirement savings and handed over the money. Lisa's relief was immediate, so much so that I tried to convince myself I'd done the right thing. But deep down, resentment began to fester. Mark got his legal representation, but the outcome wasn't what Lisa had hoped. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Despite the court's ruling, Lisa doubled down, visiting him every week and funneling more money into his commissary account. Our marriage began to crack under the weight of her single-minded focus. Birthdays were missed. Vacations canceled. Every spare dollar went to Mark. One night, as I reviewed our dwindling finances, I realized we'd spent nearly $50,000 in the past 2 years, money I'd worked my entire career to save. When I brought it up to Lisa, she waved me off. "He's my son, Brian. You don't understand what that bond means." "No, Lisa," I snapped. "What I don't understand is why our marriage is less important than your son's bad decisions." The final straw came when Lisa announced she wanted to refinance our house to cover Mark's restitution payments. "That's it," I said, slamming the paperwork on the kitchen table. "I'm done. I've given everything I can, and it's never enough. If Mark is your only priority, then maybe you should figure this out without me." I packed a bag and left that night, staying at a motel to clear my head. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of relief. 2 weeks later, Lisa showed up at my office unannounced. She looked disheveled, her usual poise replaced with desperation. "I was wrong," she said, her voice trembling. "I've been selfish, Brian. I see that now. Please, come home. We can fix this." I stared at her, torn between love and the scars her choices had left on me. "Lisa, I gave you everything. My savings, my time, my support, and you threw it back in my face. What's different now?" She broke down, sobbing into her hands. "I don't want to lose you. I don't know who I am without you." I took a long, hard look at my life. Did I still love Lisa? Yes. But love wasn't enough to erase the pain and resentment. Over the next few days, I consulted with a therapist and a lawyer. Both echoed the same sentiment. I needed to prioritize my own well-being. When I finally sat Lisa down, my heart broke for her. "I can't do this anymore," I said. "I love you, but I've lost myself trying to save this marriage. I hope you find peace, Lisa. But I can't be part of this cycle anymore." Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. I sold the house, divided our assets, and started over in a smaller apartment closer to work. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Months later, I heard through mutual friends that Lisa was still visiting Mark, still pouring her energy into him. I didn't feel anger anymore, just a bittersweet acceptance. Sometimes love isn't enough to fix what's broken. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for someone is let them go.